Hey, fifth grade math friends. It's Miss Rudd again. We're just going to take a few minutes and go through our last interim assessment. I'm going to walk through all the questions with you as a review, so take some time and go back and look at any that you might have had trouble with, and then let your math teacher know if you need some follow-up help with one of the questions. Have fun! All right, friends, we're going to go over our questions from the last math interim assessment, which you might have seen referred to as IA3. I want to go through the questions. I know you didn't get an opportunity at the end of the test to see some of the ones that you missed, so we'll go through these pretty quickly, but give you an idea of what you might have done wrong. Question 1 asks you to multiply 1,255 times 1 2/10. You would just have used standard algorithm for this. And so in order to do this, I would do my math here. All right, and then I'm going to multiply by what's actually in my ones place here. So I'm going to cross out my first place value here. Let me scooch this up a bit. And then do my multiplication. And then when I add together my sum down here, without my decimal, this is what my answer looks like. I see up here that my decimal is in between the whole number and the tenth here. So my decimal is one place over. So in my answer, I'm going to need to move that decimal one place over. So my final answer would be 1,506, which was answer choice A. Okay, the next question was a division question, and you would have used standard algorithm if you were comfortable with that. I know that standard algorithm for fifth grade is not part of our standards, but some of you do use it. So you could have used several different strategies. You could have used partial quotients. You could have used long division. Some of you use the big 7 method that you might have learned, but I'm not going to work this all the way out. I do want to point out just a good test prep strategy here. Look at your answer choices if you're working on a problem like this and you're not certain of where to start. If you see your answer choices all start with a 2, the 2, so you would know that your first number in your quotient is going to have to be 2. So you can also just take a look and see this one's 262, 262, 226, and 262. So you see that 3 of them are the same. They just have decimals in the different places. So once you get an idea of where your decimals can go, you can sort of use process of elimination here. So my point is, don't stress if you don't know the standard algorithm. Here's a great strategy. I always tell my kids, you cannot leave. This guy is outside of the house here. This is the divisor. You remember it's the divisor because you would wear a visor outside of your house. So you can't divide by a decimal. So I am going to move this decimal over one spot here to make that the whole number 25. But whatever I do outside the house, I have to do inside the house. So I'm also going to move this decimal over one place to the right. And then I'm going to bring that decimal straight up so that it's on the rooftop, and that's where it will stay in my answer. Now, I need to get an idea of what my quotient's going to look like. So I could say, how many times would 25 go into 65? So this is kind of like saying 25 times into 650, but we're just going to look at the 65 now, and I know it will go 2 times. which gives me 50, with 15 left over. So in my answers up here, I know that I'm on the right track because my first number has to be something with a 2. So now I'm going to bring this extra 5 down here, and I'm going to say 25 goes into 155 how many times? Well, I can think about this like quarters, and I know that it's going to go 6 times. So 6 times 25 would actually give me 150 and leave me 5 left over. Now, if you're using standard algorithm, this gets a little bit tricky at this point because we still have a remainder down here. Sorry, I'm off the camera there. You can bring down a mystery 0 because remember, when you add zeros to the end of a decimal, it doesn't change the value. But now I have 25 into 50, which is 2. But if you can't get that far, you could still figure the answer out by saying, I know that this has to have a whole number 26 in the answer. Look at your answer choices. Only one choice has 26 as a whole number. So, all right, problem 3 for IA3 was an addition problem with decimals. The point of this one was that you had to keep your decimals lined up. Remember, decimals are kind of like soldiers and they stick together. Those decimals always stick together. So when I go to add this, I see that I'm missing a digit up here. Well, I can add in a mystery 0 there because adding a 0 to the end when it's a decimal does not change the value. So then I could simply add here, and my decimal stays straight as an arrow, just like little soldiers in a line. So my final answer would be 3 573 thousandths, which would be D. Okay, this was question 4 about Shelly and her gas tank. It said Shelly's gas tank is empty. She pulls into a gas station where the price of gas is $3.56 per gallon. That's expensive gas. If Shelly's gas tank can hold 14 gallons of gas, how much money will she spend filling up? There are several different strategies you could use. You could actually just add $3.56 together 14 times. Or you can rely on addition and multiply by 14. So $3.56 times 14, I'm going to work through this pretty quickly here. We don't want to spend too much time. Okay, so now I have, oops, I'm off the camera, sorry. I have 4,984. I know that I have to get that decimal back in there. So up here, my decimal is over 2 places. So I need to do the same thing here and move my decimal in 2 places. So my final answer would be $49.84, which was answer choice. Okay, here was another one about filling the gas tank. So this time George is keeping a record of how many miles his car can travel with 1 tank of gas. If he has a full 13-gallon tank of gas and can travel 17 2/10 miles per gallon, how many total miles will he be able to travel? So once again, you could use repeated addition and add 17 2/10 13 times. Or we can rely on multiplication and go right through our standard algorithm with multiplication. All right. Okay. So then, oh, I'm off the camera again. So sorry. So then in my product down here, I have 2,236, but I see I have to move, this decimal was moved over one place, so in my product, I am going to move my decimal over one place, and I find out that he could travel 223 miles and 6/10 of one more mile, which was answer choice C. All right, our next question is finding the product that describes 4 8/10, which I know it's hard to see on the recording, but we're looking for 4 8/10. So a great strategy would simply be to go through and tell the answer for each one of these and find the one that matches. So A is just 6 times 8. Well, that's 48. There aren't any decimals involved there. The next one is 6 times 8/10. So that 6 times 8 is 48, and if I move the decimal back one, that's going to give me 4 8/10. Well, that matches. So let me double check over here. 6 times 8/100. Well, I know that's going to be 48, and I need to move that decimal back 2 places. That gives me 48/100. And then the last one is 6 times 8,000. Well, I know 6 times 8 is 48, and then I need to move that decimal back 3 places. So I've got to put a 0 in there in order to get it back 3. So the only answer here that matches would be B, which is. Okay, question 7 was another addition question. And the biggest trick here would be simply keeping those decimals lined up. Keeping your tenths and hundredths lined up there. And making sure that when you carry, you have, that you carry carefully. Now, remember when you're adding and subtracting, your decimal stays lined up like little soldiers. So 21 4/100, which is answer choice C. All right, for number 8, it's another division problem. And they're asking us to divide 3,152 by 3 2/10. Remember, we cannot leave that decimal outside of the house. So I'm going to move this decimal over 1. And whatever I do outside the house, I need to do inside the house. All right, so there's my decimal up there. Now I'm dividing 31,520 by 32. Now, I don't know my 32 times tables. So a great testing strategy is if you have multiple choice answers, look at your answers to figure out where to start. So I'm actually going to start with a 9. I know that 32 can't go into 3. It can't go into 31, but it can go into 315. So I'm going to put a 9 up here and try that. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. All right, and then I'm going to have to do some borrowing here. Okay, and then I'm going to have to borrow again. So I'm left with 27. And I'm going to bring down this 2. So 272. 32 will go into 272 how many times? I don't know. But I'm sure going to look up here at my answer choices and see if I can figure it out. My next in these answer choices, 8 is the next number. So let me try 8. So when I multiply, 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And let's see what we get. Okay. Well, that works. As long as what you get down here when you subtract is less than your divisor, then you made an okay choice. All right, let me scooch this up a little bit here. All right, so then I'm going to bring my last zero down here, and say 32 goes into 260 how many times? Well, I can see that the next digit here is 5, so I'm going to try that. And I would work that all the way through. But at this point, be aware of your answer choices. 2 of your answer choices are start with the digit 1. I know it can't be those. Over here, I have 98 and 5/10 or 985. Well, if I just look here, I can tell that I'm going to have 3 digits in my answer here before that decimal point. So through process of elimination, I can pretty easily say that that is answer choice. Okay, and here is question 9. It was a pretty simple subtraction problem. You have the whole number 6, and you're subtracting 1 and 455 thousandths. I'm pretty sure some of you might have written that backwards. Because what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to add in some mystery zeros up here to be able to subtract from. And then I'm going to have to start down here on my right. And I can't there. I'm going to have to go all the way down to the ones place. I'm going to take 1 1 away and give the tenths from that 1 over here. Well, I still don't have anything down here in the thousandths place. So I'm going to take 1/10 away and give all those tenths to the next place. So that now gives me 10 thousandths. Still doesn't help me, or 10 hundredths, sorry, it doesn't help me in the thousandths place. So now I'm going to take away one of those and I'm going to give 10 hundredths in here to the thousandths. So now I can go through and solve. I have 10 minus 5 thousandths, so that's 5 thousandths. 9 minus 5 hundredths, give me 4 hundredths. 9 minus 4 tenths is 5 tenths. And then 5 ones minus 1 1 would give me 4 ones. So the correct answer here would have been C, 4 and 545 thousandths. The big deal here is keeping all of those decimals lined up. Okay, here's the next one. It was another subtraction problem, just pretty basic subtraction here with decimals, making sure that you keep those decimals lined up like little soldiers. And you can go ahead and bring that decimal down into your difference so that you don't forget. And then you're just going to do your basic multiplication or subtraction here. All right. So my difference was 8 and 3300. All right. So for the next question, we have a grid here, a hundredths grid, and they're asking us which decimal represents the shaded amount. Well, the best thing you can do is go in and figure out how many total boxes are filled in here. So if I know that there are 6 going down and 8 across. So all together there, I know that I have 48 hundredths because there's 48 little boxes here. If I look at my answer choices, I can narrow it down. Starting down here with D. D says I have 84 hundredths as my total answer. That's not true. C says I have 84 thousandths. That's not true. B says I have 4 and 8 tenths. I don't even have one whole colored in, so that can't be true. So A gives me 8 tenths times 6 tenths equals 48 hundredths. This is the only equation that gives me the correct answer. So I know it's a little hard and it didn't exactly mesh with the way we had shown you guys how to use the grids. But if you compared your answer, question 12 asks you to estimate. Anna spends $12.52 on school supplies and $6.13 on snacks. About how much money does Anna spend? Remember, estimate before you do the math. So $12.52, I'm going to round to my nearest dollar. So the 5 in the tenths place tells me that I'm closer to 3 wholes. So this is going to make this $13. And down here, I'm going to round to my nearest whole number, which is the 6. So the 1 tells the 6 to stay the same. So it's closer, 13 cents is closer to $6 than it is to $7. So that's going to be $6. And now add them together. So 13 plus 6 is 19. All right, for the next one, they gave us a model, and then they also gave us an equation with a missing part. So here's the equation they gave us. Oops, I'm off the camera, sorry. There we go. And we have to figure out what number would make this true. Well, a great place to start is I know that 3 times 2 is 6. So now I just have to figure out what do I have to do with that 2 to get the product of 6/10. Because I know that 3 times 2 would just be 6. And I see that I need 6/10, which means that decimal's moved once to the left. So if I moved the decimal in the number 2 once to the left, that would give me 3 times 2/10 equals 6/10, which is answer choice D. Okay, this was similar to the last one. They give us blank times 2/10 equals 12/10. So the first thing that I do know is that 6 times 2 equals 12. But I have to figure out where the decimal is going to go in this 6 in order to get it to 12 hundredths. So here I see that the decimal has been moved once to the left. So let me move this one once to the left. So I have 6/10 times 2/10 equals 12/10. Well, that works because when I move my decimals, I moved 1 there and 1 there. So I had to move it over 2 times here as well. So the correct answer would be C, which is 6/10. You could have used this model. I don't want to ignore the model up here. This model shows me that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/10 up here, and I have 1 2/10 going this way. And then the little place where they are both covered is 12/10 because there's 12. Okay, number 15 was one of the most missed questions that we had on IA3. So I want to take a second to go and to really look at this carefully. They're asking what 2 factors are represented by the model. Remember, the factors are the numbers that you multiply together. So take a look at the model, and I can see, oops, if I have my pen will work. Oh, let's try a different pen. Here we go. All right, so there's 1 and there's 1. Those are each wholes. And then down here we have our tenths sticks. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths there. So I know that this side represents 2 and 4 tenths. Up here on top, I see I have 1, 2, 3 wholes, and then there's 1, 2 little tenths. Remember, tenths are the long, skinny ones. And then hundredths are like these little green ones down here. They're the tiny little boxes. So if I looked back to my answer choices, the only answer that is anywhere near this model is B, which is 3 2/10. Okay, question 16 was a division problem, and they asked what the model represented. Well, when I look at this model, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9/10 showing on this model. And then when I look, each of these circles, inside the circle, I have 1, 2, 3/10 in each circle. So we've divided 9/10 by 3/10, which gives me 3 whole circles, which would have been answer choice A. All right, here's another one. Let me see if I can fix the camera here. There we go. That gave us a model, and they gave us 2 8/10, and they used the slash as the divided sign. Sorry, I'm off the screen again. So then they gave us the blank, and it's equal to 7/10. Well, if I ignore the decimals and I just look at this and say 28 divided by what equals 7? Well, I know that answer is 4, but I have to figure out where that decimal would go. So 28, 2 8/10 divided by, I don't know if it's 4 wholes, 4/10, 4/100, something equals 7/10. If I look up at the model, I can see that I have 2 whole boxes shaded and 8/10. If I divide those into groups of 4s, so 1, 2, 3, so if I make equal groups and I put 7/10 in each group, I'm going to have 4 total groups. So if I kept going here, oops. Well, I'm off, I got off circling there. But so as I circled, I would end up having 4 whole groups. So 2 8/10 divided by 4 is going to give me 7/10. That would have been answer choice B. All right. Okay, number 18 was another basic multiplication problem. They gave us, it said school lunches cost $14.25 per week. How much would 15 weeks of school lunches cost? So you would just use your standard algorithm for multiplication. All right. And then I see that, oops, I'm off the screen. Sorry, there we go. All right, I moved over 2 places here for my decimal, so I need to move over 2 places in my product. So $213.75, which was answer choice. Okay, question 19 was another one that was missed by lots and lots of folks. It asked us to put this number, to show the number represented. So I have 2,000s, and then it tells me I have 1,900s. Well, what that actually means is I have 900s and 1/10, because only one digit can fit into each column. And then if I keep going across, I have 4 1s, 3 10s. It says I have 1,500s. Well, that really means that I have 500s and an 1,000. So I have an extra 1,000 here, so 1 plus 1 would be 2. So my final answer would be 2,534 and 192 thousandths, which was answer choice A. All right, a great geometry question. Which of these quadrilaterals is never a parallelogram? Remember, a quadrilateral has 4 sides. A parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel lines. And of course, they would connect. So it asks, which is never a parallelogram? Well, a kite is never a parallelogram. Some of you think about a kite as sort of a sideways square. According to geometry, that is not what a kite looks like. According to geometry, a kite looks much more similar to this. Okay, a rounding question. It says round this number to the nearest hundredth. When they ask you to round to a particular place value, please underline that place value. That is such a tricky thing. So if I'm rounding to the 100th place, I have marked my 100th place. I look next door, and I know that this 9 makes it closer to 79 hundredths. So, and some of you know the song, 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, let it soar. So this 9 tells the 8 to soar to a 9. And then we get rid of that one. So that gives you answer choice D, which is 9 and 7. All right, question 2. This was order of operations. I'm actually going to write this a little larger here so that we can see what they wanted from us here. Okay, so the first thing to remember when we're doing order of operations is that we have to do what are in our grouping symbols first. And our brackets and braces come first, so we have to look here. So we have 5 minus, so then we need to look at our parentheses. So 5 minus 3 minus 2. Well, I know that 3 minus 2 is 1. So now I have in my brackets here 5 minus 1, which is 4. So I'm going to mark all this stuff out because I finished all of that. And then I'm going to bring everything else down because now I'm left with all of this other stuff. But when I do order of operations, I know that multiplication and division comes next. And I don't have any multiplication, but I sure do see a division problem down here. Push this up a little bit here. Here's the division problem right here. 4 divided by 2. Well, I know that's 2. So I'm going to cross that out, and I'm going to put that 2 down there. So now I have 6 minus 3 plus 2. Well, addition and subtraction I do in the order they come. I just go from left to right. So I can just start here on the left and say 6 minus 3 is 3. And now 3 plus 2 that will give me 5. So my answer should have been B, which was 5. All right, this is question 23. They gave me 3 times blank equals 1 8/10. And they also gave me a model up here, a number line. So I can see that my product is already labeled on the number line up here at the very end. So there's 1 8/10 up there. And I see that I have 3 hops, 1, 2, 3. So I got that part. I just need to figure out how far each hop is. And this is super hard to count on this tiny little model. But I can tell that there are 6 little pieces in there, so that I know this answer is going to be 6, but I have to be super careful because it's not 6 whole jumps. It's actually tenths, because between each whole number there are 10 spots. So each of these little tiny jumps, I jumped 6/10, so I have to have that decimal in there, which was answer choice C. I know some of you just saw A was 6 and you just automatically chose it. Be super careful. All right, this is 24. This is another question with a number line that asks, what does this represent? Well, I can see easily that I start at 0 and I go to 10. And I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. And each jump, if I look carefully, each jump has 1.5 in it. Or 2.5, I apologize. 2.5, I'm sorry. So 2.5 in it. So looking at my answer choices, I have 2.5 divided by 4. Well, that can't be right because I'm all the way up to 10 here. 4 times 10, well, I didn't do jumps of 10. 5 times 2 and 5 tenths, well, that can't be right because I didn't do 5 jumps. So that only leaves me with D, which was 4 times. Okay, this one was number 25, another number line. They gave us 2 divided by blank equals 4. On the number line, they showed us the 2, and I can see that there are a total of 4 jumps. And now I just need to look and figure out how many pieces are in each jump. I can tell it's separated into tenths, and it looks like there are 5 tenths in each jump. So if I look at my answer choices here, I found 5 tenths here, which is A. It can't be 5/100ths because that would mean each piece was split into 100 pieces. And then the 4s were not an option because that was how many jumps we did. All right, so answer A was your 26 was another number line, and it asked what expression was modeled above. So the first strategy that I would say is label what you know. I can tell I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps. I can tell that I'm up to 1 and 8 tenths is where I land. And then let me see how many tenths are in each jump. 1, 2, 3. It looks like there are 3 tenths in each jump. So using that information, let me look at my answer key, my answer choices. 18 times 6. No, I don't have anything about that. 1 and 8 tenths divided by 3/100ths. I don't have 3/100ths. These are tenths. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Answer choice D says 1 and 8 tenths times 6. I do not have 6 jumps of 1 and 8 tenths each. So the only thing left is 1 and 8 tenths divided by 3 tenths. And I can tell that my answer would be, my quotient. All right, question 27 asks what addition expression is represented by this model. All right, so the best way to do this is simply to label what you know. I know that that's 1 whole. I know that that's 1 whole. The reds are tenths. It's 1 whole stick, so that gives me 1 tenth. And then the tiny little blue piece there is 1/100th. So I know that that first number would be 1 and 11/100ths. The second number, let me count how many pieces I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 tenths there. And then there's 2 tenths there. So I know that this would be 1 and 62/100ths. So now I'm just going to check my answer choices, and I can quickly see that B shows 1 and 11/100ths plus 1 and... All right, so this one asks about a subtraction problem that was being modeled. So count how many blue boxes you have in all. You can count the tenths to start with. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole tenths, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hundredths. So that's how many I have in all. Now I need to know how many I have circled. So I know there's 8 there. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I know that there are 15 hundredths circled. So your answer choice would be D, 68 hundredths. Hey guys, we're going to do take 2 on this one. For some reason it didn't capture. All right, so this one asks us 3/10 times 300ths. So in the first model here, which I know is a little difficult to see, they've shaded in 3/10. Over here in this one, they've shaded in 300ths. So your answer choice would be A, which is 3/10, but remember we can put the 0 on the end and it doesn't impact the value. So 3/10 plus 300ths. I think I said times, plus 300ths, which is answer. All right, friends, good luck on the next cycle for math, and if you need any help reviewing any of these questions, don't hesitate to let your math teacher know, and we'll be glad to help. Bye, guys. Have a great afternoon.